Simon Riley was born during the 1980s in a rough part of Manchester, England. Simon grew up in a disturbing environment, which led to him having a quite traumatic childhood. While growing up in the streets of Manchester, he witnessed many horrors due to his father, who Riley considered heartless. His father found pleasure in being cruel, and at times when he'd come home he would have rodents with him, and he would use them to scare Riley and his younger brother Tommy. One night he was so drunk that he forced Riley to kiss a snake, and Simon always attempted to look out for his younger brother Tommy. Another instance where Simon's father showed his cruelty was when a prostitute died of a drug overdose. Instead of calling the authorities or showing any type of empathy for the woman, Simon's father just laughed and forced his son to laugh at the woman's dead cold body. As Simon grew, he knew he wanted to get away from his father. However, he knew that it was hard. It always seemed that his father's shadow would follow him like his own. Simon began working as an apprentice at a butcher shop, just like his father before him. However, after the 9/11 attacks, Simon was motivated to join the military and be of service. He knew this would also get him far away from his father. Eventually, Simon would be accepted into the Special Air Service. Simon would spend the next 2 years with the Special Air Service until one fateful return home in 2003. In January of 2003, Simon went home and found a situation even worse than the one that he had left. His mother, she was broken and had finally hit rock bottom. His brother Tommy, well, he suffered the same fate. Simon's mother explained that Tommy was addicted to drugs and had been stealing from her to support his drug use. Here, Simon made a deliberate choice to prolong his stay at home until he helped his family get back on the right track. This would be no easy task, but Simon helped his younger brother battle and overcome his drug addiction. And in spring of 2004, Simon would finally beat his father and throw him out of the house. By 2006, Tommy had been clean and found love. He would marry a woman named Beth. Simon would attend the wedding and have the honor of being his brother's best man. Sometime later, Simon would become an uncle, as Beth gave birth to a young boy named Joseph. With his life back home in a better state, Simon returned to active duty. One of his first assignments upon his return was to help an American team tasked with taking down the Zaragoza drug cartel, headed by infamous cartel leader Manuel Roba. When he and his team made their move on El Dia de los Muertos, the team's commanding officer, Major Vernon, betrayed them and gave them up to Roba's cartel. Simon and his teammates were brought to a brainwashing facility and tortured for months. However, Vernon and the cartel were unable to break Simon. This angered Roba, and he killed Vernon in cold blood due to his failure. Roba would have Riley thrown in Vernon's casket, expecting Simon to suffer a cruel and agonizingly slow death. However, Simon would use the jawbone from Vernon's rotted corpse and break through the casket, where he would dig through the dirt for 13 hours until he finally made it to the top. Once he was out, Simon trekked his way across the border and into Texas. Eventually, by winter of 2010, Simon made it back to the Special Air Service facility in Crendon Hill. Simon is desperate to resume his hunt for Roba, and he explains to his superiors that it took him a month-long walk to get to Texas, during which he was delirious, dehydrated, covered in sores, and infected. He had just about given up, and he laid down, ready to die, when a Texas Ranger found him. After that, it took him about a week to get home, and now that it's been 4 months, he thinks he's ready to rejoin his men. However, Simon's temper management issues prevented him from returning to active duty. Simon would meet up with 2 survivors from the Roba operation, Kevin Sparks and Marcus Washington. But here he realized that Roba had broken and brainwashed them. Fearing that no one would believe him, Simon bid his time until he found an opportunity to strike. Simon attempted to kill Sparks, but was forced to flee when Washington turned up unexpectedly. Simon would flee home, but what he found there changed him forever. Once he made it home, he found his mother, brother Tommy, sister-in-law Beth, and young nephew Joseph dead, shot to the head, execution style. He knew this was the work of Washington and Sparks, on orders from Manuel Roba. Riley returned to the inn to find Sparks and Washington, but they were gone. Simon would head to a cancer hospital to visit his father, as this was his mother's last request. However, their meeting ended sourly, and Simon left his dad there alive even after his father begged him to kill him, as he no longer wanted to live in that hospital. As Simon left, Sparks and Washington arrived and asked Simon's dad about his son's whereabouts. When he refused and laughed in their face, the two would kill Simon's father. Eventually, Simon finds Washington and Sparks sleeping in the barracks and slits Washington's throat. He takes Sparks hostage and drives him into his house. Simon ties him up and begins to prep him as he looks to start torturing Sparks. However, while alone, Spark manages to get his hands free, and as he makes his way to a door, he finds Simon with his face painted as a skull and a gun in hand. Simon shoots Sparks dead. He switches their tags and sets the house on fire. After killing the ones who pulled the trigger, Simon, who now goes by the moniker of Ghost, returns to Mexico to hunt down the man truly responsible for all of this, Manuel Roba. Ghost ambushes Roba's right-hand man, Gilberto, and tortures him into revealing the location of Roba. Once at Roba's compound, Ghost kills Roba's guards and shoots his way to Manuel. Once he finally has him cornered, Manuel Roba tells Ghost that his own parents were gunned down at a market when he was 6 for no reason. He says that this opened his eyes and made him realize that the world was filled with billions of people, and that 1 or 2 dead parents won't make a difference. Roba says that killing him won't change anything, as a plea for his life. Riley agrees and says that he's one man who really needs to leave the world. Ghost shoots him in the head, finally killing the man that started it all. Ghost now leaves the compound with information on Roba's contracts and businesses. However, as he leaves, a chopper lands in front of him, and a man comes out who introduces himself as General Shepard. He talks to Ghost about recruiting him into the elite Task Force 141. Ghost, now 3 years into his stay with Task Force 141, finds himself in a joint operation with Delta Force, codenamed Operation Kingfish. The point of the op, well, is to hunt down the ultranationalist Vladimir Makarov. As they assaulted the compound that he was believed to be in, he was nowhere to be found, but the team were able to recover intel that could be useful. However, they would be ambushed by a bomb, forcing the team to evacuate. During the evacuation, Soap would be wounded by an RPG and would need to be carried to the evac point. Captain Price would stay back to cover as the team escaped, and once they made it to the evac helicopter, it was ordered to leave immediately, which resulted in Captain Price being left behind. In the 3 years that followed, Soap would become captain of the 141, and Ghost would be his right-hand man as he carried the rank of lieutenant. In 2016, following Makarov's massacre at the Zakhaev International Airport, Ghost was a part of Task Force 141's operation in Rio de Janeiro to locate and capture Alejandro Rojas, the man who supplied Makarov with weapons and ammunition. Eventually, Soap and Ghost would interrogate Rojas' assistant after he was captured by Roach.
Roach, this is going to take some time. Go with Meat and Royce and check out the favela for any signs of Rojas. That's where this guy is headed.
Let's go.
Sometime later, Rojas would be captured by Soap and Ghost.
Frontrunner, this is Bravo 6. We've got the package. I repeat, we have got the package.
Command, ready for dust-off. Send the chopper. Coordinates to follow. Bollocks! The skies are clear. Send the chopper now! Command's got their head up their ass. We're on our own.
However, extraction wasn't possible as comms were down, and after getting what they needed from Rojas, the team narrowly escaped the favela with the help of Nikolai. After escaping South America, Ghost and Task Force 141 prepared a counterattack with the U.S. 6th Fleet against the Russians. Information recovered from Rojas led to them learning about prisoner 627. Apparently, he was the only man Makarov hated more than the Americans. The team would infiltrate the Gulag and reach the prisoner, who turned out to be Captain John Price. Captain Price would be given command back from Soap, and he would come up with a plan to end the ongoing war by infiltrating a Russian submarine base. Once on the Russian base, Price took control of a Russian submarine and launched a nuke out of it. Ghost, in shock, would attempt to call it to command.
Price, are you there? The silo doors are open on the sub. I repeat, the silo doors are opening on the sub. Price, come in. They're opening the silo doors on the sub. Come on, hurry! Price, no you stop me! The silo doors are open. I repeat, the silo doors are open.
Good.
Wait, Price, no! We have a nuclear missile launch. Missile in the air! Missile in the air! Code black! Code black!
But Price would reveal to him the reasoning behind it, which was to give the Americans back the advantage over the Russians. Eventually, General Shepard found the last 2 safe havens for Makarov and his men, which were a safe house on the Georgian-Russian border and an airplane boneyard in Afghanistan. Knowing they have to be in 2 places at once, Ghost proposes that he lead a second team consisting of himself, Roach, Ozone, and Scarecrow to take the safe house, while Soap and Price investigate the boneyard. The team agrees, and Ghost leads his team in the safe house raid.
Snipers in position.
Strike team go. Engage Makarov on site.
Roger that. Solid copy.
Let's go. Let's go.
Advancing on the house.
room clear.
However, Makarov wasn't there, but there was a lot of intel that could be used against him. Ghost relayed this to the general.
Shepard, this is Ghost. No sign of Makarov. I repeat, no sign of Makarov. Captain Price, any luck in Afghanistan?
Plenty. At least 50 hired guns here, but no sign of Makarov. Perhaps our intel was off.
Well, the quality of the intel's about to change. This safe house is a bloody goldmine.
Copy that. Ghost, have your team collect everything you can for an operations playbook. Names, contacts, places, everything.
We're already on it, sir. Makarov will have nowhere to run.
That's the idea. I'm bringing up an extraction force ETA 5 minutes. Get that intel. Shepard out.
Roach, get on Makarov's computer and start the transfer. Ozone, you're on rear security. I've got the front. Go.
RPG team moving in from the east. Got one. Roger that. RPG team moving in from the east. Enemy fast attack choppers coming in from the northwest. Roger that. Enemy helos approaching from the northwest. We gotta cover the front line. I'm moving to the main windows. Roach, the transfer's complete. I'll cover the main approach while you get the DSM. Move!
And after securing the intel, Ghost and his team would attempt to reach the evac zone, but Ozone and Scarecrow would be killed as they made it down the hill. Roach would also suffer an injury as they made it to the bottom, and Ghost would carry him to Shepard as they arrived at the evacuation point.
I have a visual on the red smoke. Standing by.
Thunder 2-1! Cleared hot!
Roger that. Cleared hot. Guns.
Hang in there!
This is Viper 2-6. Stand by for rocket attack. Over.
Roger. Hit them hard on that hill. Make sure they're down.
Roger, I'm
Get
on
up!
it. Coming around, heading
Get up, get up!
250.
Almost there!
Roger, I got him lined up.
Gold Eagle's on the ground. Watch for snipers on thermal. Over.
You have the DSM. We got it, sir!
Good. That's one less loose end.
The OG Ghost was a bad man. He suffered a lot as a young kid, but it never stopped him from trying to achieve better things. His life was full of evil, but he managed to find good in it. Ghost redefined a generation and inspired many for years with his brilliant story of resilience, and honestly, I have no doubt that if he had been given a proper fighting chance, he would have killed Shepard and those two shadow operators next to him. The story of a son, a brother, an uncle, the story of a soldier, the story of the Ghost ended here. Thank you for joining me, as this was the life and career of Simon Ghost Riley.
Attack by Shepard's men in the boneyard! Son, hold the left flank! Do not trust Shepard! I say again, do not trust Shepard! Son, get down!
Simon Riley joined the Special Air Service of the British Army at a young age, and he began to work for them in highly classified missions. Many of the deployments were short-term, and he was mainly used for covert assignments. Due to this, he specializes in clandestine work. His skills have also allowed him to focus on sabotage, ambushes, and infiltrations into denied areas and hazardous environments. Through all of his missions, Ghost became somewhat of a mythical figure, as he would be in and out, and anyone that ever got a glimpse of him would only be able to describe him from his trademark skull-figured mask. Ghost would climb the ranks of the Special Air Service and would become a lieutenant within the British Army. He would continue to impress and eventually joined an elite unit that was composed of the absolute best soldiers in the world. Currently, Ghost is believed to be with Task Force 141 as they are on the hunt for Vladimir Makarov and the Connie force's next move. Ghost personally feels like he has a debt to pay to the ultranationalists who took a dear friend of his. On April 19th, 2019, Ghost took part in a counter-terrorist operation in Verdansk, Kastovia. Here he worked with the legendary Captain John Price and Sergeant John Soap McTavish. They were under the command of then Lieutenant General Herschel Shepard of the United States. The mission was to apprehend ultranationalist Vladimir Makarov, who was attacking Verdansk Stadium. Ghost and Shepard were in a helo as Price and Soap captured Makarov and brought him to the extraction point. After the events in Verdansk, Ghost and Price began to work together more, and they kept in touch. Captain Price saw the determination and the potential that Lieutenant Ghost had, and he realized that he would be a great asset to have around. Sometime in late 2019, Ghost received a call from Captain Price, who offered him the opportunity to join Task Force 141, which is a joint multinational Special Operations Task Force and counterterrorism military unit composed of only the best in the world. Ghost gladly accepted and began to work under the captain. One of his first assignments was to help in the hunt for Viktor Zakayev in 2020. Ghost headed to the city to help the Armicistans, which was a military alliance. However, soon after arriving, a toxin gas was deployed that made the members of Armicistans attack each other, and this would lead to their downfall. Ghost escaped the city and was sent to a secure location, and later he would be assisted by Alex Keller, who Captain Price sent to aid Ghost in his operation. And by December of 2020, Ghost had met up with other members of Task Force 141 and would stop Zakayev's plan of nuking Verdansk. However, Viktor Zakayev would escape and go into hiding. 2 years later, in July of 2022, Ghost was deployed to locate and mark General Gurbani of Iran's Quds forces. This time, he would be under the command of CIA handler Kate Laswell and now General Shepard. Ghost would be assisted by the Shadow Company, which was led by Graves. After Ghost made visual contact, he sent the coordinates and the Shadows took care of the rest.
Direct. Target destroyed.
A few months after this, Ghost was called to lead a mission to kill Hassan Ziani, who was seeking revenge for the assassination of General Gurbani. Ghost would be joined by Task Force 141 member John Soap McTavish, who Ghost felt could be a little reckless at times.
Let's get ourselves a win, yeah, LT? Save your seat, sir.
Fucking hell.
Ghost, you copy?
Yes, sir.
Any issues?
Negative, sir. Out here.
They would be joined by a Marines Special Operations unit. Ghost would fail to capture Hassan Ziani in this operation, but he would uncover what Hassan was intending to move. It was an American-made ballistic cruise missile. Ghost would destroy the missile and evacuate Al-Mazrah on the orders of General Shepard. After this, Ghost would be sent to Mexico alongside Sergeant Soap. They met up with Mexican Special Forces Colonel Alejandro Vargas and Sergeant Major Rodolfo Parra to locate and capture Hassan, who was believed to be working with the local cartel Las Almas, run by the infamous El Sin Nombre. The team would miss Hassan by just a hair and would be attacked by the Mexican military working under Las Almas Cartel. Ghost and the team would just barely escape and would be assisted once again by the Shadow Company. Ghost and the rest of the team headed to a cartel safehouse where they believed Hassan was moved, and after a heavy firefight they captured Hassan and moved him to the desert for questioning. During the interrogation, Ghost remained quiet but watched on as Graves from the Shadow Company was questioning Hassan. Ghost realized that they would have to let Hassan go. However, before doing so, they got some information out of his phone, and then Ghost quietly returned it. This would allow them to plan their next move. A few days later, Ghost, along with Soap, Vargas, and Graves, were conducting surveillance on a mansion belonging to one of El Sin Nombre's lieutenants, Diego Salgado.
My sources tell me all the VIPs in Las Almas will be there tonight. Some are invited, others are,
Voluntold?
yes.
What's the meet about?
Nosotros? Las Almas is burning, and they want to know who lit the fire.
Sin Nombre will be there, yeah?
No guarantees, but this is our best shot.
Then we take it. I got enough shadows here to take over the whole damn country.
I'd prefer if you didn't.
Just saying. One house shouldn't be a
We
problem.
need Sin Nombre alive.
Ghost would remain in a secure position and provide sniper overwatch. The mission would be successful and they would exfil El Sin Nombre to Los Vaqueros headquarters. They began to interrogate El Sin Nombre, who was actually Valeria Garza. Ghost, Soap, and the Shadows commander struck a deal with Valeria. She then informed them that the second missile was in the Gulf of Mexico on an oil rig. The team headed there and were able to destroy the second missile out of 3 that they were after. After this, the teams returned back to Los Vaqueros headquarters, but they were stopped at the gate, and Ghost began to put his guard up as he didn't get a good feeling about this. They would come to find out that Commander Graves was taking over the operation and that the Vaqueros inside of the base were detained.
No one needs to get hurt here.
Are you threatening us?
Soldier, I don't make threats. I make guarantees. So let's not do this.
All of this came from General Shepard. Ghost became angry and Alejandro attacked Graves. However, they were outnumbered and Ghost swiftly took care of a couple of shadows and commanded Sergeant Soap to leave and make a run for it. Ghost would use the rain as cover and make a run for the woods as well. He found a shortcut that led to the city and stumbled upon a church that gave him a perfect viewpoint. However, there was a sniper inside that was part of the Shadow Company. Ghost used his skills to sneak up behind him and kill the sniper. He would set up there and provide overwatch for Soap. As he guided the sergeant through the city of Las Almas, once Ghost saw that Soap was getting close, he noticed a shadow sneaking up on Soap. Ghost killed the shadow and the two would meet in front of the church. They made their way out of Las Almas and into Alejandro Vargas' safe house. Through this predicament, Ghost saw that Sergeant Soap was determined and an extremely loyal friend. His opinion began to change regarding the sergeant and a closer bond was formed. After arriving at Alejandro's safe house, Ghost and Soap met with Rodolfo Parra.
Where are we?
Alejandro's safe house. Gave him the location just in case.
Why didn't he tell me?
He was need to know.
What if I needed to know? Pressure plane.
Alejandro rigged it.
Smart bastard.
There. Don't move!
¿Quién está ahí?
Rodolfo!
Soap! Ghost! You're alive!
Affirmative.
Good to see you, amigos. Igual, amigo.
Nice throw. Where were you guys?
On the run.
I was on the run. Ghost waited for me.
Of course, no?
No.
Yes. We're a team. All of us. This happened on my watch and I'll need help to fix it. No one fights alone.
Why did Graves turn?
We don't know.
Las Almas can corrupt anyone.
Not us.
For now, General Shepard, Laswell, and anyone else outside this room is considered a hostile. With one exception.
Alejandro?
We need him back.
Ben? Graves is holding him here.
His own personal black site prison.
My team is locked in there too.
How do we get him back?
By breaking in.
And that's why I love the Ghost.
It's gonna take more than this.
It's well stocked.
All right.
My man. We're gonna need new wheels. Preferably up-armored.
Alejandro thought of everything.
Yeah, he did. Let's go get him.
Ghost would lead the operation to free the vaqueros imprisoned by Graves as well as saving Alejandro Vargas. As the team made their escape, they were met with heavy fire. But Ghost noticed that Captain Price and Gas were sent to aid them by Kate Laswell. This gave Ghost an idea of who he could trust again. And after leaving the prison, Captain Price told them why Graves betrayed them. Apparently, Graves and General Shepard were covering up their involvement in transporting American missiles illegally to allies fighting in Russia. However, they would be intercepted and lose those missiles, which later ended up in Hassan's hands. When they arrived at Alejandro's safe house, Task Force 141 and Los Vaqueros created a joint task force named JTF Ghost Team. Ghost would do something here that he hadn't done in years. He showed his face to his allies, signaling the greatest form of trust that he could give. Sergeant Soap looked on and felt proud to be part of a unit like the one that they were in.
Good to see you again, Salman. If you're in, take a mask. If you're not, don't.
They retook Alejandro's base and apparently killed Commander Graves. The team would head over to question Valeria Garza on the final location of the third missile. She revealed that it was in Chicago, and Ghost alongside the team left Mexico and made their way into the United States.
Ghost! No te pierdas, carnal! ¡A huevo!
As Task Force 141 prepared to stop Hassan, Ghost would find a secure location in the building next to where Hassan was presumed to be. Here, Ghost would once again provide overwatch and keep an eye out for Hassan. A little while later, Ghost hears over his radio that Soap is once again without a weapon and needs to redirect the missile that has launched, while also taking out Hassan and his bodyguards. Ghost once again walks, or more so encourages Soap through this ordeal and helps the sergeant complete his mission. However, the radio cuts in and out and Ghost realizes that Hassan has a hold of Soap. Ghost repositions himself quickly and is able to take out Hassan before he could throw Soap out of a window, saving the sergeant's life for a second time.
Perfect show, LT.
You called it, Sergeant.
All stations. Hassan's down. Enemy KIA.
A year later, Ghost and the team are about to embark on a new mission. However, Captain Price informs them that he just received word that Vladimir Makarov has escaped and he has just become top priority. They return to base and prepare for a way to stop Vladimir Makarov again. The team received intel that Connie Group members were at a nuclear plant and they headed there to intercept them. The team realized that the Connie Group were looking to extract the sarin gas which was left by Barkov back in 2019. Ghost would help Captain Price escape due to the fact that the Connie Group released some of the gas before they left the plant and almost killed the captain. With the team failing to secure the sarin gas, it would only get worse from there. The team would head to an abandoned bunker in Urzikstan and retrieve some missiles that the Connie Group stole from the ULF. Task Force 141 split into two groups. Farah and Price went one way and Ghost led the second team, which consisted of Sergeant Gas and Sergeant Soap, and they would head in a different direction. Price and Farah stopped their missile. However, Ghost's team failed to secure theirs and the missile was launched to a Russian military base that was nearby. Ghost would inform Captain Price and the captain lets him know that he needs to alert Laswell. The team later regroup in a base where they find out that General Shepard has some information on Markov's financier, which could lead to the capture of Makarov. Shepard reveals that Graves survived the attack in Las Almas and has resumed his work for him. That's how he was able to secure this intel. Ghost is still angry about the attack on his life and Soap's, and he suggests that they drop an airstrike on their location. However, with a bigger threat in front of them, the captain agrees to a truce. Ghost doesn't like this, but he understands. Shepard gives the team the intel regarding Milena Romanova, who is on a remote island. Ghost and Soap then infiltrate the island to interrogate Milena. When they found her, they began to interrogate her through the usage of financial interrogation. Romanova broke and told them information regarding Makarov. The intel that they gathered from the Romanova interrogation led to Task Force 141's capture of Andrei Nolan, Makarov's second-in-command. Nolan broke and revealed information regarding a prisoner that Makarov was transporting to an abandoned prison in Siberia. The team would intercept the convoy, they grabbed the prisoner, and it was revealed to be General Shepard. The team moved him to a secure location, and then they began to question him.
Laswell.
Without the stars and bars, you look like frozen shit, General.
Best of the best. All in one place.
With one glaring exception.
What is the agenda of this little powwow?
A choice.
Do I have one?
No.
I'm all ears.
Own up. Tell us everything.
You know everything.
Congress doesn't. And I bet they'd
They'd be all ears, wouldn't they, eh?
That's it?
No. You clear my name. Tell them who I am, what you gave me, and why.
No one else had the balls to do what I did for you. For all of you.
Then do the right thing, General.
All your intel on Makarov, your boy Graves on a leash.
Say yes, you get a warm ride home.
Or take a little me time and freeze to death.
That's the one I'm partial to.
Keep the prisoner focused on their own self-preservation, and eventually they will break.
Good to see you remembered your training, eh? General.
You screw me on this, John, and you'll be sorry you kept me alive.
Shepard revealed that Makarov wanted to blow up the Gora Dam in order to flood Verdansk and kill its inhabitants. He would then blame it on Farah Karim and the West. Lieutenant Ghost and Soap were deployed to the Gora Dam, tasked with disarming the bombs. Ghost would lead this operation and they were able to disarm all bombs located on the dam. They would quickly exfil. While Ghost and Soap wrapped this up, Price led a different team to take out Makarov's operation base in Urzikstan. After both missions were completed, the two units regrouped and watched on as Graves and Shepard betrayed each other in a Congress hearing. A while later, Laswell received information from MI6 that Makarov and the Connie Group were in London. Task Force 141 found out that Makarov planned to infect the train systems in London so he could take control of them and kill thousands of people on board. The team once again split up with Ghost leading Gas and members of the SFO into the service tunnels, while Price took Soap and the remaining SFO members into the other side of the tunnel. While Ghost is on the hunt for Makarov, he receives a radio call asking for backup from Captain Price. Ghost quickly informs Gas and they make their way to Captain Price and Soap. Ghost hears some shots and sees from a distance Makarov, who appears to be standing above Captain Price. He sees Soap slowly getting up and he tries to call out to the sergeant, trying to yell his name. He wants to let the sergeant know that they are almost there, but Soap can't hear the call and he decides to attack Makarov. Ghost yells, but it's useless, and he sees Makarov shoot Soap in the head. Ghost and Gas were just a few seconds too late. They begin to shoot towards Makarov and he makes a run for it. Ghost is in disbelief. He heads over and kneels beside his fallen friend. Without realizing how much time has passed, Price walks over and informs Ghost that he and Gas have disarmed the bomb, but they lost Makarov. Sergeant John Soap McTavish would be cremated, and Ghost would take a hike alongside Captain Price and Sergeant Gas somewhere in Scotland, where Ghost would scatter the ashes of his fallen comrade and say his final goodbye. However, Ghost was determined now more than ever to get his hand on Makarov. One thing is clear in his mind: he will get Makarov and he will kill him for Soap.
Rest in peace, Johnny.